Hey y'all, I'm Carolina Tony. Today the road brings me to Charleston, South Carolina. I'm standing outside of the Old Charleston Jail. This thing goes back to 1802 and a lot of bad guys were locked up in this place, and we're going to tell you a few of the stories. I have done a lot of politicking and sneaking and conniving, but I have gained access to this place. But I add it costs a pretty penny to do so. And we're going to go inside and take a look. But right after this station identification. As I mentioned, there have been a lot of bad guys imprisoned here. Before we go inside, we're going to walk around the outside, and I'm going to tell you about a few of the most famous people that has met their fate here. In 1825, a Jock Tardy was held here for attempting to steal a pilot boat, and then John Gibson was tried and hanged for his 1817 piracy. And of course, one of the most famous was the so-called first female serial killer, Lavinia Fisher, and her husband John. It is said that Lavinia's ghost still haunts the halls of this jail. And I'm going to tell you her story. Now, there are all sorts of versions of this story, and I'm going to tell you just one. Okay, we are on the Old Charleston Naval Yard, or Old Charleston Shipyard. You can see ships across the way there being worked on. Legend tells us that John and Lavinia Fisher had a tavern called 6 Mile Wayfarer House. Though no one knows for sure, it is thought to be somewhere near the Old Charleston Shipyard, and that's where we're at now. So it could have been anywhere, but it was about 6 miles out from downtown Charleston. Remember, Lavinia was thought to be America's first serial killer. Weary travelers would often stop at the 6 Mile House, either into or out of Charleston, for a bite to eat or to rest. And Lavinia would, with her southern charm, offer them a delicious drink that would make them sleepy. And when they fell asleep, Lavinia and her husband would kill them and take whatever money or valuables they had. Apparently the 6 Mile Wayfarer House was a hotel that you checked into, but you never checked out of. There were various stories abounding of what was going on at the 6 Mile House, until one day a traveler, very suspicious, didn't drink the laced drink. To make a long story short, he alerted authorities, and the Fishers were caught and tried and sentenced to death. Because they couldn't hang a married woman, they let John go first, then they hung Lavinia because she was a widow. But shortly before she died, she said, "If anybody has a message for the devil, give it to me and I'll give it to him this afternoon." At that point, she jumped off the scaffold and hung herself.
Things like that. This was like a basically booking area, things like that, up towards the front of the building. And then, gentlemen, this is the room that Lavinia was, we believe that was held at.
So we believe this is the room that Lavinia Fisher was in. So we believe this is the room that Lavinia Fisher was in when she was incarcerated here, while she was on death row. And not a very big cell, but can you just imagine are pacing back and forth, knowing it's all coming to an end very soon. This room.
So there was actually multiple cells in there, so it wasn't just the one room, there was multiple cells in it.
This one room
Yes, sir.
looks like it's probably 16 by 10.
Yes, sir.
But it was multiple cells. You can see on the floor, you can see where the cells were, so they were very tiny. Looks like it might have been about 2.5 foot wide. Really solitary confinement. These rooms would have been the rooms that someone got for just a minor infraction, breaking the law. Perhaps parking his horse in the wrong place. Was death row. As you can see, the cells look like they're about 8 by 8 perhaps. And this would have been the only heat that they had during the winter.
Paranormal world, we call this the creepy door room. And a lot of the guys do not go into this room. This is one of the rooms that we just avoid.
Really? Huh.
So we don't go in here on tours. We like to leave this one alone.
Well, let's leave it alone.
Stairs. Another 8 inches gender. And then after the Civil War, they were starting to move out of place.
The condemned man stood on the ground. Inside the double compartment gallows shed, the hangman on a signal released the lever, which dropped a heavy iron weight 5 foot to the ground. The man's body was jerked into the air and he fell back a few feet, which broke his neck.
Before the Civil War, they were held in here. And then after the Civil War, so that's what I basically talk about in here. And then what I have been doing is the story of...
So this is called the Iron Room because of the walls were steel. So the greatest security risks were up here. This is another high security room, another iron room. As you can see, steel. And this housed the really bad dudes. It's in the middle of July right now. It's in the high 80s, temperature's high. Can you imagine this being the early 1800s? Being sentenced to life or being sentenced to death and being in the iron room. No chance of ever getting out. There's no fans, no ventilation whatsoever in here. It's almost hot enough it makes you want to die. It's just more than you can imagine, that the pain and suffering. But the guys that were in here, most of them, deserve to be here. However, there were some prisoners of war that were here that probably didn't deserve to be here.
And I talk about the shift from colonial punishment to the jail, basically, and how they have that shift.
This would have been the warden's room. Him and his family would have lived up here along with his children. And get this, he had 9 children.
Be better suited to live in. This is the morgue, as some people like to refer to it. I usually refer to it as an infirmary. And of course, the very famous wheelchair of our jail.
Walk in here. So this was the infirmary?
Yeah, I used to say the word infirmary because morgue is more limiting.
Yeah.
And it was more than that.
So this wheelchair is original to the jail?
It's not original to our jail. It is
But it's original to the period.
Original 19th century, yes.
Right.
It came here as part of when this was a museum.
Mhm.
That's when this thing came here, and it's just been here ever since. So.
Wow. Whew, it was hot in there. Well, I hope you have enjoyed our trip to the Old Charleston Jail. Hope you've enjoyed the legend of Lavinia and John Fisher. Real spooky tale. If you enjoyed this, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Be sure to tell your family and friends, and please share it on your social media. And until next time, y'all have a good day.